Well, a good Friday morning to you all again, friends, on this Good Friday. It's actually Good Friday, and I'm just thankful for an opportunity to be able to be here again, to be able to share my heart with you and some thoughts with you that have been running through my mind this week, and just things that I feel like uh, where I pray would be of help to you and maybe encouraging to you during this time, during Passion Week, and obviously during um, the wild and crazy time that we're all contending with right now. Um, so again, I pray everyone's had a great week, and it's good to be able to be here again. And it's amazing to kind of process what today means, what Good Friday is all about. When we stop and we really remember and recognize the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, his willing sacrifice for each one of us, and his willingness uh, to endure just the sheer brutality, excruciating pain for our sake, for our freedom, to restore our humanity, to cleanse us of our sins, and to really open up God's grace and love to each one of us, and open a doorway directly to the Father through him. And as I really, really think about that and really process what this morning means, it gives me pause to just think more and really have more appreciation. And I just sit in awe this morning as to how much Jesus endured. And I was reading, my family and I were going through a devotional this week all about Passion Week, and starting with uh, Palm Sunday and the road leading up through Easter. And this morning was just really processing what uh, Jesus endured, and how Jesus could have called down legions of angels that would have come and rescued him from that cross. But he willingly was hung from that tree. He willingly endured all of the pain and all of the scourging at that pillar, being torn to shreds for us. And again, I just sit in awe of that, of what that has truly meant for each one of us, and um, how much he's loved and has loved and does love each one of us. It's amazing to just process, friends, to really think about it. And as I'm just sitting here this morning by my fire pit and really processing those thoughts, it's just, I sit in awe of it, to realize that I am his favorite. You are his favorite. That he had each one of us in mind, and that's why he willingly endured what he endured. Embracing his full humanity, fully God, yet fully human. He embraced humanity to the point of death willingly, so that we could be freed, so that we could be set free, so that we could be restored. He was all about restoring what was lost in each one of us, restoring our identity as sons and daughters, restoring us as fully human. Jesus was the most human of all humans. And that's what he modeled for us, and that's what he came to restore in each one of us. And as I sit here thinking about that this morning, it gives me pause to think about the time that I have left on this side of eternity. And I think about what it means, or rather, I think about what I am doing with the time that I have left, and how, gotta have coffee. It's a little chilly morning, and the mountains are calling. Man, I wish I could get up to the mountains right now. Anyway, um, it just really makes me think about, I'm 41 years old now, and I don't know what season of life you're in as you're watching this, but all our days are numbered. And if the situation we're dealing with right now with COVID-19 and the coronavirus doesn't tell us anything, it really uh, makes us really pause. A lot of us really pause and think about, okay, how much time do I truly have left? Because the reality is the mortality rate hasn't changed. We all, on this side of eternity, will meet the grave. That is the truth. But I could have 5 years left, I could have 10 years left, 30 years left, I don't know. But what do I do with the time that I do have left? How do I make the most of the time that I do have left? And I've thought about that a good bit, and as we hear news stories of people that are suffering and dying right now, and even those that aren't dealing with coronavirus that are still dealing with that and having to go through that alone. I mean, think of just how awful that has been. So again, I just think about, what does it mean? What do we do with what we have left on this side of eternity? Unless Jesus chooses to return now. And oh man, if Jesus were to return now, that'd be amazing. Because I was pondering the return and the wedding feast this week as well, and what that'll be like at the restoration. But anyway, when we don't know the days that we have left, it was ironic. As I was reading the book I'm reading this week, actually is a very good read, and I'd highly recommend it if I haven't mentioned this before. But it's a book by Matt Hurd. It's a pastor down in Orlando, called Life with a capital L. Just have it here, so I thought I'd show you a picture of it. But this week I was actually reading a chapter on time, and it really helped kind of process this, because this whole idea of doing what are we going to do with the time we have left has really been on my mind a good bit lately. And Matt takes us into Psalm 90, where Moses really processed and took us back to teach us to number our days, teach us to realize the brevity of our lives, so that we may grow in wisdom. And it just think about that, when we really think about that and realize that our days are truly numbered, that we don't know how much time we have left until we do meet the grave, right, on this side of eternity. And we don't know that, but if we choose to really realize, accept, and know that our days are numbered, it can really have an effect on how we choose to live in the day-to-day, where we're not continuing to worry about so much, or even procrastinating on opportunities that may be laid ahead of us, right? Making the most of every opportunity, as Paul wrote in Ephesians. And when he talks about that, and Paul talks about be careful in how you walk, so you don't walk as unwise men. This is in Ephesians 5. And when he talks about being careful, it means that he's saying that we need to pay attention, right? To take notice of the way we're doing our days, with the way we're doing our life, because the days ahead of us are, we live in times that are evil. There's evil all around us that we're having to contend with. We don't know. Death is an imminent part, and death is evil. Death wasn't God's intention for any of us. So Matt writes that a central part of being fully human is to wisely number my days according to the reality of why I'm on this planet, being aware of who I am and what I'm doing with the days, with my life and my days. That doesn't mean being overly serious, but simply intentional. Numbering my days isn't just realizing there's a finite amount of time, or there's a finite amount of them. It's grabbing the life out of them. So choosing to grab the life out of each day that's ahead of us now with whatever number of days we have left. So we had to be careful about that and what we're doing. Because again, like I said, if the situation we're dealing with right now, with the way the world is in complete shutdown, and there's so much fear circulating all around us, it makes us really pause and think about that. What are we doing with the time we have left? And Matt breaks down when there are two types of time, if you will. There's Chronos time and Kairos time. Chronos time is the chronological time that's happening, that's continuing to happen, that's going to happen inevitably, that we're moving through. Kairos time, it's a time, it's a special occasion, a unique opportunity. So that's what what Paul's talking about, making the most of all those opportunities. My life, and he writes also that my life has a lot more Kairos moments than I realize. Often, whether I've seized them or missed them, they are still seen more clearly once they've passed. Kairos is a moment that must be embraced to the enlargement of my humanity if I do, and to my regret if I don't. So, and I say all that, friends, just to really help you really ponder and think about the time that we do have left. And going back to what Moses wrote in Psalm 90, is that we have to realize the brevity of our lives. Think about that dash. What are we doing with the dash? We all have a start date, a birth date, and we all have a death date. What are we doing with that small amount in between? So, and it's important to think about, because if we go through our days, thinking, oh, we'll just move on, or this can hold off, this opportunity can wait another day, or I don't have to do that today, that can wait till the next. We end up procrastinating. What happens? We end up stepping in, moving on, and either running out of time, or we come to the end of our time not having done the things that we knew we should have taken advantage of. And I go back into this book again, and Matt shares a story about a gentleman that I guess heard him speak at a luncheon one time. And this man was a very successful businessman, and he fell ill and was near death, and he called for Matt. Matt didn't know him personally, but he decided to go see this man, and as he sat there with him and listened to him, the man looked at him and said, despite all his business success, he said, I don't know what I've done with my life. So when you think about that, if you think about when you get to the end of our time on this side of eternity again, do you want to be there at that point asking the question, I don't know what I've done with my life? Or do you want to be there and knowing that you've been able to take advantage of almost every opportunity that's been laid out ahead of you? Whatever that may be, in the way you do relationships, in the way you walk in the faith, in the way you continue to grow in your faith to God, in the way you choose to pursue the life that Jesus came to restore in each one of us, and what that continues to look like through continued healing and restoration over the course of our lives, that progressive sanctification, as we call it. Are you truly pursuing that? Are you truly living out the Great Commission of going out and creating and making disciples and teaching them to walk with Jesus, to really walk with God, to really pursue that life with God and grow deeper and deeper union with Him? It's what we're all here for, and there's opportunities for that even now. even right now, when we're all stuck at home, when we're all sitting on Zoom or Zoom calls or whatever, I can't tell you how many Zoom calls I've had the last few weeks. But it's been an amazing tool. But the connections and the communications and the conversations I've been able to have, or even just sit in on, have been utterly amazing, right? So there's still opportunity even here and right now to be able to reach people, to be able to minister to people's hearts in some way, shape, or form, right? There's always opportunity, even in the midst of this quarantine, right? We can continue to do this. So I don't want it to go wasted, where we're just sitting at home, kind of biding our time and waiting for something to happen, um, uh, for everything to be lifted so life can go back to normal. I'm going to tell you, I don't know what this new normal is going to look like, because it's going to be different either way. If you thought you knew germaphobes before, it's going to be that, for one thing. That's going to be a totally different thing. But secondly, one of the things I pray and I hope for is for some kind of great awakening, where people really truly realize just how brief our time is, and that people really choose to really pursue God in a deeper way through all of this. So my hope is that that is a big part of what happens. But all I know is that that it's going to be different. So I don't know what it's going to look like. But here now, while we're still sitting here right now in our homes, while we're sitting on our Zoom calls, work calls, whatever that is, talking with our family, our spouses, our children, or whoever, what are we doing with the time we have with them in order to continue to minister to their hearts? And I'm talking to myself here. This isn't just me, because there's things I know I could probably do better. I'm definitely not perfect at this, but this is also me teaching myself and continuing to remind myself of things that still need to be done, right? And I know God is continuing to train me up through all this, because there's so much that has not that I haven't learned yet, that I'm continuing to walk into, and that He continues to train me in through this life. And this season has been no different. I definitely feel, and my wife and I were talking about this week, that the last year has been a huge training ground for our hearts, and in some ways kind of preparing us for what this season's bringing. I don't know fully if it's been fully that, but it certainly feels like that, because it's prepared our hearts in a way where we can look at the situation now with still great hope in what's to come. And with what we have and the limited abilities and what's available to us now, we are choosing in the best way we can to take advantage of the opportunities and the time that we have right now. So it doesn't matter what's going on in your life, what season of life you're in, friends. Think about what you're doing with the time you have and how you're taking advantage of that. Are you really seizing those special moments and those opportunities, or are you just choosing to just coast through the day-to-day, not truly living? As William Wallace says in Braveheart, all men live, or all men die, very few ever really live. So are you going to choose to live, or will you walk to the end of your days and have to ask the question, I don't even know what I've done with my life? Don't be that person. We all have that chance, because you may not even get to the point where you don't even get to ask that question, because your life can be snuffed out like that. You don't know when God's going to choose to take back the breath of life from each one of us. I certainly don't. So many friends, I just really wanted to share those thoughts with y'all this week, and really what God has really been placing on my heart through this time. In a lot of ways, He's really shown me again. He's shown me a lot, from trust to just really seizing opportunities and really just pressing deeper into Him. And that's the biggest thing. It's just looking to Him every single day, because there's nowhere else to look. Who else am I going to look to, right? Who else are we going to look to? Where else is our hope going to lie in all this? So that's it, friends. So I really thank y'all for listening this week. I really pray that you all are doing well, that you're safe, that you're healthy, and I look forward to be able to continue to talk to you. And I pray this is a good Friday and we can look to Easter this Sunday with great hope, just marking the resurrection of Jesus and the promised hope that is to come beyond that. So friends, I thank you for listening again, and I pray that you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to talking to you again. We'll see you very soon.